Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're reviewing AEW Collision from July 1st, 2023. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. With that being said, let's jump right into it. We start the show off with MJF coming out against one of Hamilton's own, Kip Morse. I like the fact that MJF played up that he's American, wore some very American kind of Lex Luger looking gear almost, like when Luger was on the Lex Express trail. I really dug that. I like the fact that he had Canada as mid on his elbow pad, kind of like he did with the elbow pad against Tanahashi. This was pretty much a nothing match. He beats the guy in like a minute. Then he gets on the mic, and I'm going to review this all as one thing because you'll see why here in a second if you haven't seen the show already. Then he gets on the mic, basically says he'll defend his championship against anyone from Hamilton, which brings out all ego Ethan Page. Ethan Page absolutely blew this out of the water. He shined. He cut an emotional promo. He cut an excited promo. You believe in Ethan Page after watching this because that promo was that good. And it's hard to do something like that when you're standing across a ring against someone like MJF, who's considered one of the best promo people in the world. They go on to put on an amazing match. I thought it was really fun, really interesting. I didn't think there was any doubt in it, unfortunately. I mean, it's pretty obvious that MJF was going to win here. I don't foresee MJF losing his championship. No offense to a cold opponent like Ethan Page. He's going to lose it in a feud if he's going to lose it at all. And I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. MJF does pick up the win here. I'm giving this all a 4. I thought that was all really good to start off the show. That's followed up with a first round Owen Hart Memorial Tournament match. We get Dustin Rhodes going up against Powerhouse Hobbs. The one thing I will say about this, and I'm going to preface it by saying I love Dustin Rhodes. I've been a fan of his for 30 years. At this point in Dustin Rhodes' career and how he's been portrayed in the last few years, I don't think he should have a competitive match with someone like Powerhouse Hobbs. And again, not a knock on Dustin Rhodes. First ballot Hall of Famer. One of the best wrestlers of his generation. I love him. Hobbs should have ran over him. With that being said, this was a really good match. And I kind of wonder, in a way, if this was seeing what happens if we take Hobbs out into that deep water, put him in a more competitive match than we're used to. How's he going to react? How are the fans going to react? So I see both sides of the coin here. I thought this was really fun. Hobbs picks up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4 as well. Like I said, I thought it was really fun. Really good match. My detractions from it don't mean I didn't enjoy it. That's followed up with our next match. We have Miro going up against Anthony Henry. Anthony Henry is one of those guys that it's kind of sad they don't use him more. Both him and JD Drake, the workhorseman, first off, they could use both as singles wrestlers. They're both great in singles. But as a tag team, they're a fantastic tag team as well. I'd like to see them get injected more into that, more into the tag team division, more use for them. This was basically a match for Miro to destroy Anthony Henry, which is probably why I'm hyping him up a little bit more here. Miro does run through him. He makes pretty easy work of Henry. Henry did have some offense, showing that he was more than just a local enhancement guy, which I did appreciate that. I absolutely love this arc of Miro. I think he's doing fantastic work. I really enjoy him, and I enjoy this show, and I enjoy how they're using him. Miro does run through, pick up the win. I'm giving this one a 4 again. It was highly entertaining. That's followed up, we get an in-ring segment with the Bullet Club Gold, which now has expanded. We have Juice Robinson, Jay White, and Austin and Colton Gunn. They're being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. The crux of this is to set up a match which will be right after this with Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks. The obvious battle lines have been drawn here, and I really enjoy this, and I'm going to talk about it more at the end of the video, but we're getting clear delineations in where people stand on this show. I feel like it's a more coherent show than what we see on Dynamite, and not that Dynamite's bad. This is no knock on Dynamite. I like that show a lot too, but I feel like more often than not, we get one-off matches on Dynamite that don't really build to anything, whereas we see here, some combination of these people has been involved in all 3 shows that we've seen for Collision so far. As they're talking, Jay White talks about CM Punk and what he has in the bag, alluding to the championship again, and talks about FTR and their tag titles, which ultimately brings up a screen. From the back, we have CM Punk, FTR, and Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks is stretching for his match, which I like is a nice touch because the match is coming up next. I do enjoy when they inject this common sense almost into wrestling. It makes sense for a guy to be getting his workout on before going out to go wrestle. Punk takes up most of the interview. Pretty good stuff here. I really enjoyed that. That leads us right into the match, which is going to be another first round Owen Hart Cup tournament match. We get Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks. The winner of this is going to face Powerhouse Hobbs next in the next round. I enjoy this match, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from this show. This show, for the first 3 weeks, and I know I'm only about halfway through the review here, has been so solid. Everything makes sense. This is wrestling how I would like it to be. Now, is it going to be perfect every week? Probably not. Is there going to be stuff on here I don't like? Of course there is. There's stuff on everything I don't like. It's just natural, but I do like how this show is being built. And I think a lot of it has to do with Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness. I think they're already the best commentary team in all of wrestling. I mean, I knew Kevin Kelly was really good. I'm someone that watches New Japan regularly, and obviously I remember him going back all the way to the WWE days and his stint in Ring of Honor. But I just love how this is being portrayed. And like I said, with these feuds going on, Starks obviously aligned with Punk and FTR to fight off the Bullet Club Gold, which kind of harkens back to me to the Four Horsemen versus Dusty Rhodes and whoever his friend at the time may have been, whether it be Magnum TA, the Rock and Roll Express, the Road Warriors, Nikita Koloff, Barry Windham, Lex Luger. He would have different people that would help him out. I kind of feel like we're setting up, and I've said this before on my first two reviews, for CM Punk to be our top face of Collision and Jay White to be our top heel. This is a really fun match, and I don't mean to be talking about everything else but the match. Juice Robinson and Ricky Starks work really well together. I really enjoyed this. Starks picks up the win here. I'm giving this again another 4. I thought it was really good again, and I rather enjoy all these matches. These have been pretty good so far in my opinion. After the match, we have the Bullet Club Gold surround the ring, which of course brings out FTR and Punk to run them off. Again, clear delineation, showing the battle line, showing who's on what side. I really enjoy this. That's followed up with a backstage interview with Luchasaurus and Christian, and I like that they asked Christian right away, if Luchasaurus is the one that won the TNT Championship, why are you the one carrying it? And before he really gets to answer, Shawn Spears appears. And I know that's hard to say. He immediately gets in a back and forth with Christian about there not being open challenges anymore, but he says he was going to shoot his shot. This was really good back and forth. Spears is another guy that I'd like to see them elevate more, much like Ethan Page. I'd like to see more usage of him. I think he's great. He's a great in-ring talent, and he's shown in the past when given the opportunity, and I hate to go all the way back this far because it's years ago now, harkening back to when he was Ty Dillinger in NXT and he had the 10 gimmick. It wasn't just the gimmick of the 10, it was the fact that he had the charisma to pull it off. I think he could be built back up and be made into a main event guy, or even a guy that's just in that TNT title picture. I really enjoyed this promo. I thought it was pretty cool, injecting him back. I think he'd be a good opponent for Luchasaurus. I think that's going to be a good match. Hopefully we get it within the next few weeks. Speaking of championships, next up we have Lady Frost going up against Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship. This was another really good match. And I know I'm probably sounding like a broken record here, but these two were really working well together. Lady Frost, someone who's not as well known, much like a lot of the people on the show. Anthony Henry, you could say Spears and Ethan Page haven't been used as much. Even Dustin Rhodes hasn't been used as much, but she was able to put on a great match with Chris Statlander. I really enjoy this. I love Chris Statlander. I think she's one of the best women in wrestling right now. I hope we get to see more of her in more prominent roles. This was an absolute fun match. Again, Statlander picks up the win here. Again, a broken record, but I'm giving it a 4 again. I thought it was really enjoyable. After that, we go to the back. We get a interview with Andrade, who's basically talking about the House of Black and how they stole his mask. The one small criticism I will have, and I promise this is not a knock, Andrade seems to not come off as well in English as he does in Spanish. I would have preferred him to cut this promo in Spanish, if I'm going to be honest. And I don't mean this in no negative light. No knock on him. I'm not saying that, he should never speak in English. But when it comes to these serious interviews, I feel it takes a little bit away when it's obvious someone isn't as good in that language. And it actually reminds me of something I just watched yesterday. I went on Netflix and I seen that there was a Gabriel Iglesias special, which, if you don't know, it's Fluffy, the comedian. I think it was from late last year. I don't know how it slipped by me because I love his stuff. I think he's extremely funny. So I watched that yesterday and he was actually talking about Canelo Alvarez, and basically the same thing here. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking of his Canelo story and my thinking of how Andrade came off here, because Andrade came off almost mechanic. That's what it is. It's not that he doesn't speak well, it's that he comes off mechanic. Whereas when he speaks in Spanish, he comes off fluent. Anyway, he does get interrupted by the House of Black, who come on the monitor behind him, which I thought was a really nice touch. It added a little bit. They talk back and forth. Again, we have a continuing feud for the first 3 weeks. Andrade and the House of Black have had some kind of interaction with each other. The story keeps going on. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. Finally, we get to our main event, another match in the Owen Hart tournament. This time, the winner will go up against CM Punk in the second round. We get Roderick Strong versus Samoa Joe. This match was really fun. Again, I have no complaints about it. This is the kind of match that I wanted to see. This whole show, in my opinion, kind of felt like prime era Ring of Honor to me, with more production, with better production. It's obvious you got two guys that are Ring of Honor legends, two former Ring of Honor champions in here. This was really, really fun. CM Punk's on commentary, which added so much to the match. I already mentioned how Nigel and Kevin Kelly are such a great announce team. You throw in CM Punk, I mean, he's one of the great orators in the history of wrestling, so of course he's going to add to the commentary. This match was hard-hitting, it was fun, it was exactly what you expect from these two. Ultimately, Samoa Joe does pick up the win. Afterwards, we get a stare down with him and CM Punk. They both have chairs. Roderick Strong is still down in the ring because Joe choked him out with the coquina clutch. He gets in there and kind of hits a snowplow onto the chair with Roderick Strong, which look brutal. And the best part about this, in a company that one of the big complaints that a lot of people has is they do too much and it doesn't mean anything. This is a spot that you could see on 90% of AEW shows. However, they treated it here differently. Instead of this just being a spot before they go to break and then the guy comes up, they made it seem like he really got injured, that Joe purposely tried to hurt Roddy. And Roddy laid there and the medical staff came out. CM Punk chased Joe out of the ring. Adam Cole came down, and there was no music for Adam Cole. That's another thing I'm really liking about this. The little touches that make it feel more realistic and make it feel like spontaneous. I know it's a silly thing, but having someone's music play when they come to make a save, how did you not know he was coming out? You had the music cued for him? But these little touches make the show that much better. It makes it so you can immerse yourself in it. It feels more realistic. And again, like I said, this was a spot you could see on 90% of AEW shows. I guarantee you, within the next 4 weeks of Collision, you're going to see a move similar to this. A DDT on a chair, or a pile driver on a chair, a brainbuster, suplex, anything where they're landing on a chair, and it's not going to be treated like this. However, in the moment, the fans and everybody there treated it seriously, which makes it feel that much more special. Just a great match and a great ending to the show again. I'm giving this one a 5. I thought it was great. Overall, I was highly entertained again from top to bottom. This has already made its way to my favorite TV show of the week as far as wrestling-wise. I mean, there's so much good stuff happening in wrestling. I love the SmackDown show. Raw's a little bit boring. at times. It's a chore to watch at times, to be honest with you. Impact's really good week to week. Dynamite's usually pretty good. There are some off weeks. But this show, this is the kind of wrestling I love, is what is being presented here on Collision. Yes, you have elements of hardcore stuff in there. You got elements of strong style in there. You got great talkers with MJF, Ethan Page, Christian, CM Punk. You have coherent storylines going week to week and building on themselves every week. A lot of people pine for stuff like the Attitude Era, and they look back at that like it's the halcyon times in wrestling. And why do they look back at that? You got rivalries like Austin and McMahon, Austin and The Rock, The Undertaker and Mick Foley. Flip over to WCW, Sting versus the NWO. So having that coherent storyline running really makes a fan want to tune in. I want to tune in next week to see FTR going up against Jay White and Juice Robinson, because for the first 3 weeks, they built us to want to see that. Just a fantastic show. Overall, I'm giving it a 4. I thought it was highly entertaining. With all that being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and if you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. It definitely helps out if you'd like to do that. If you made it all the way to the end, let me know what you think. Are you enjoying Collision as much as I am? Has it become your favorite wrestling show, one of your favorite wrestling shows? Do you not enjoy it at all? Let me know down here in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion on it as well. With that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my review of AEW Collision.